Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to focus on the following question. How do human activities that affect water, air, and land impact ecosystems? Lesson objective. Students will be Students will engage in an interactive story. You will make decisions at certain critical points, and that will impact the outcome of the story. Over the next several lessons, you will read about a habitat for flamingos and some of the decisions the town near the habitat are making. You will have to form an opinion about the best decision for the town to make. You will do the following. 1. Read about the flamingos. 2. Compare the two habitats. 3. Think about the potential impact of human actions on the habitat where you are currently. 4. Prepare to debate. 5. Engage in a debate. And 6. Write an argumentative essay about the topic. Interactive fiction isn't the same as other kinds of stories. All stories are interactive to some extent, as you get involved with the characters and imagine what is happening for them. But in typical traditional stories, there's one path through a story with a beginning, middle, and end. Interactive fiction, in contrast, usually offers one beginning, then readers have two or more choices for what to do next, and two or more choices every once in a while along the way. So, instead of one narrative line, you might have a lot of branches. You could end up with dozens of different endings, or sometimes the stories converge on just one or two outcomes, no matter what paths you took to get to the end. A lot of the adventure is the way you got there. It's a little bit like real life. We are faced with tough choices all the time. So, in this interactive story, you will take on the role of the mayor of a town. You will be faced with a decision to make. The decision will impact both the human who live in your town and the wildlife. Choose wisely because every decision will have an impact. Click on the link below to go to the interactive story. Note how each of your decisions impact the story. When you have gone through the process, you will respond to the questions on the next slide. So let's begin. I'm going to click on the link here and I will be taken to this page. So the title here is Dustville Dilemmas, a choose your own adventure story where you are the mayor and you make the call. So let's begin the story. So before I start the story, I see that there's some illustration here. Looks like an arch landform. I see some kind of creature over here. And well, the structure here, the landform has a yellow color. So I'm assuming something has to do with the desert. Let's begin the story. Congratulations, you were just elected mayor of Dustville, a small desert town in the southwest, where you were born and raised. Your campaign slogan, Dollars in Desert for Dustville, reflects your commitment to improve the economic condition of your hometown, where many citizens live in poverty, and to preserve the natural environment of this region that you and your fellow Dustvillers love. To celebrate your first day in office, you decide to hike an arch rock and think about how to tackle your new responsibilities. Ever since you were a kid, you've done your best thinking when you're walking in the desert. It's very hot out, so you stop for a water break. Something white catches your eye, and you use your binoculars to take a closer look. You blink and look again. You've never seen animals like these. They resemble fluffy white foxes but are no bigger than your fist. They have huge pointy ears and black rings around their eyes. Their tails are extremely bushy. You're not usually sentimental, but you've got to admit these little creatures are incredibly cute. What a discovery. But what exactly have you discovered? You know who to ask. You take a couple of photos and send them to Mara Supial, wildlife biologist and head of Save Our Desert. Your phone rings right away. Is anyone else with you? Mara asks in exciting voice. No. Good, she says. Listen to me, don't move. I'll be at the arch in 10 minutes. What kind of animals are they? You ask. Don't take your eyes off of them, Mara says, not answering you. And most importantly, Mayor, please don't tell anyone else what you've seen. What have I seen, Mara? What are they? But she already hung up the phone. You have two choices to make. While waiting for Mara, you decide to take some close ups of the animals and send them to Kent Keep Secret, reporter at the Dustville Daily Gazette. How can it hurt? Or you wait for Mara as she suggested. So I'm gonna wait for Mara as she suggested. You wait for Mara as she suggested. You take a deep breath, close your eyes, and repeat to yourself, don't tell anyone, until you hear Mara's footsteps in the distance. By the time she's standing in front of you, breathless and sweaty, you spotted nearly 20 animals. Unbelievable, Mara gasps, peering through her binoculars. What are they? She lowers her binoculars. Vulp desertica, the common name in white puffball foxlet. These have been rumored. There have been rumors of sightings over the years. I've spent my career hoping to spot one. You got lucky. Part of the problem is that in the past, people have trapped them and tried to kill them, keep them as pets, which didn't work out well. Why? They're sensitive to change in the environment. Anyway, they're remarkable animals. Remarkable? They're unusually well adapted to the hot desert climate. Their thick white fur deflects the heat, and those dark rings around their eyes. They absorb the sun's glare, like the eye black baseball players wear. Exactly. What about their gigantic ears? The blood vessels in the ears are close to the skin and help dissipate body heat. And believe it or not, the puffballs can flip their tails above their heads like parasols and make themselves some shade. Wow! Wow's right, Mara says. Folks will be eager to see these unusual animals, you say. Not a good idea. Too much commotion will disrupt the foxlet's daily activities. They hunt and eat insects as their main source of food. If they don't eat enough, they'll get weak and won't reproduce. The last thing they need is a bunch of curious Dustvillers to swarm this place. So you have two choices to make again. The first choice, you hear swarm this place as an economic opportunity, a visitor attraction for your cash-starved town. You ask Mara to stand by as you check in with Nick Eldorado, a trusted friend, local businessman, and president of Citizens for Prosperity in Dustville. Or the other choice is, convinced by Mara that Dustville should preserve the foxlet habitat and keep them safe, you ask her for next steps. Well, which choice would you make? Well, I think I would take Mara's suggestion. But keep in mind, there are multiple ways you can, there are other ways that you can, other choices you can make here. So I'll take Mara's advice. You say, I'm convinced, Mara. I'm a native of this area just like the foxlets and want to preserve their habitat and keep them safe. What's our next step? Mara reaches into her backpack and pulls out a roll of caution tape. How about you help me put this up? It's a temporary solution, but it's better than nothing. As you clearly understand, it's optimal for the foxes to have a little disruption into their habitat as possible. The two of you work quickly and quietly to minimize the impact of your on the white puffball foxlets. It doesn't take long to string the caution tape from cactus to cactus, cordoning off an area about as big as a football field. This will warn people to stay out of the area, but we need a more permanent solution, you say. Any ideas, Mara? Now, the story goes on a little bit longer, so I will let you to finish the story. Make sure you select the choices. If you select a choice that ends your story too soon, then you can always press this button here to start over, and try to explore more multiple endings to your story. I've explored a few of them, and they're pretty exciting. So be sure to go back and try all choices. All right, so let's continue. Answer the following questions based on the outcomes for your story. Are you still the mayor of the town? Well, based on the choices that I made, I am no longer mayor of the town. And um, next question. How did the choices you made lead you to where you are? I've made choices to protect the species and the environment, but it didn't turn out well for me or my town. And finally, what kind of choices did you avoid in your story? I avoided making choices that would jeopardize the species and the environment. So, which choices were you able to make, and what was the ending for your story? Are you still the mayor of the town? How did the choices made you lead to where you are, and what kind of choices did you avoid in your story? So I imagine I'm making a connection now that this story is very similar to the story in Tanzania and Lake Natron. The government has a decision to make. They have a very precious, very fragile species that reproduce and live at the lake. But the lake can also be a source of income and wealth and give uh, new source of revenue for the people and new jobs. And your country and the people really need that. So, what I imagine the government of Tanzania is in a really difficult situation. And I believe that this story here that we just read puts us in the seat of the Tanzanian government. And well, hopefully they'll make the best choice, and they can definitely try to preserve the species. Well, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.